Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are heading to the absolute edge of China. Imagine for a second trading the bustling, crowded coasts and ancient imperial cities for straight-up, silent, snow-covered pine forests. You just keep going north until you simply run out of map. That is Mohe, China's northernmost frontier. It's a place where the landscape suddenly bursts open into this vast, awe-inspiring wilderness, and the sheer silence of the Taiga forest just totally takes over. We are going to explore the raw beauty, the extreme survival tactics, and the profound mystery of this incredible borderland. Okay, let's jump right in. -53 degrees Celsius. Yeah, you heard that right. That jaw-dropping extreme temperature was actually recorded here in January of 2023, and it really sets the baseline for everything we're about to talk about. When you step off a plane into that kind of cold, it is a literal, visceral shock to your system. It's the kind of place where the air itself feels sharp, and just taking a single breath creates this thick, white mist all around you. This isn't just sweater weather. This is an environment that completely dictates how humans and animals manage to live, work, and survive.
Section 1. The Extreme Frozen Frontier, Surviving China's Coldest City.
So how do you even get around out there? Well, you're not exactly hailing a modern cab through the snowbanks of the Greater Khingan Range. More often than not, you're on a horse-drawn sleigh. You're sitting on wooden runners that glide silently over packed snow, wrapped up tight in these heavy survival blankets, just surrounded by straight pine trunks and the super long blue shadows of the winter sun. And you have to see this local phenomenon. It's literally called throwing water to freeze. It's a massive hit with anyone visiting Mohe. You take a cup of boiling hot water and chuck it in a big arc into that intensely cold, dry air. Before the water even has a chance to hit the ground, boom, it instantly crystallizes into this spectacular white arc of ice. It's such a simple trick, but it explains the harsh science of this region way better than staring at numbers on a thermometer ever could. Now, you might be wondering how daily life actually adapts to this. Well, if you head to a local market, you literally have to push your way through 3 separate layers of heavy doors just to get inside, all to trap that precious heat. But outside, the locals are incredibly resourceful. They just use the freezing streets as a massive natural freezer. You'll literally see fish, wild blueberries, and frozen pears just sitting right there on the snowy pavement for sale. And honestly, the craziest part is the temperature difference. You could be enduring -30 degrees outside, but the second you step inside a floor-heated home, it can be a sweltering 20 degrees above zero. That is a massive 50-degree swing just by walking through a front door.
Section 2. The Meaning of Finding North, Beiji Village and the Arctic Dream. But here's the twist. When you finally reach Beiji Village, you find this really unique blend of Chinese geography mixed with, of all things, European fairy tale culture. Despite all that brutal harshness we just talked about, Beiji Village acts as this vibrant, brightly lit, super tourist-friendly destination. It actively softens the extreme environment, basically turning the freezing northern frontier into a welcoming winter park. You have the northernmost post office in China, where everybody sends postcards from the edge of the country. And then, surprisingly enough, you have Asia's only Arctic Christmas village. It's actually an official sister village to Rovaniemi in Finland, complete with a genuinely authentic Finnish Santa Claus. Grounding the whole shebang is the Beidou Star Plaza, which features a massive sculpture of the Big Dipper, the ultimate universal symbol for navigation and finding true north. Which leads us perfectly into this phrase, I found north. I found my direction. When travelers make it out to these extreme northern markers and snap their photos, it's got so much more than just hitting a geographic coordinate on a GPS. The physical journey to the edge of the nation really anchors a profound emotional realization. See, in Chinese, the phrase finding north carries this wonderful double meaning. It also means finding your way in life or finding your purpose. Standing out there in the silent snow at the literal edge of the map, a lot of visitors feel like they finally found their bearings. Section 3. Life at the Border, the Stark Reality of Beihong Village.
Okay, let's compare for a second. While Beiji Village is your curated winter hub packed with bright signs and polished attractions, Beihong Village offers a completely different, much more raw perspective on what it means to live at the edge of the country. Geographically, it's actually a tiny bit further north. It is defined by remote wooden log cabins, working cattle yards, and just honest, quiet survival. Out here, you'll see cattle standing outside on packed snow right next to the barns, with these massive snow walls lining the fences. This isn't about setting up a decorative landscape for tourists. It is strictly about the raw mechanics of keeping animals alive and homes warm through a deep, unforgiving winter.
And right past those villages, we hit the ultimate geographic wall, the Heilongjiang River. In the wintertime, this thing is a frozen boundary of absolute silence. Standing on the banks here, the cold isn't just the weather anymore. It becomes geography made visible. It's this expansive, flat, white plain completely flanked by the imposing dark presence of the taiga forest on both sides. To really wrap your head around the scale of this, we are talking about the internationally known Amur River. This immense body of water forms the natural border between China and Russia. In the absolute depths of winter, it freezes so solidly that it doesn't even look like a river anymore. It just becomes a massive white plain that physically bridges two gigantic nations. A major landmark to check out is the Dragon River First Bay. It's this stunning, massive U-shaped bend where the river violently turns back on itself, wrapping right around Russian islands and creating an absolutely breathtaking landscape of water, ice, and mountains. Now, as breathtaking as this all is, the history here isn't solely about snow and ice. It's also marked by a really devastating tragedy. Back on May 6, 1987, a catastrophic forest fire swept right through the Dexin region. It burned an astonishing 7.3 million hectares in China and tragically claimed 211 lives. It left a profound, lasting scar on both the people and the landscape. Today, that tragic history is memorialized across the nation by the incredibly popular, melancholic hit song Mohe Dance Hall, which is about an older man mourning his life who was lost in that very fire. But, amidst all that heartbreak, there is this immense resilience. Sonyoen Park, which sits right in the center of Mohe, miraculously survived the flames. It stands today as this rare, somewhat sacred patch of original 200-year-old pine forest. Section 4. The elusive northern lights, looking up at the edge of the world. All right, let's shift our gaze up from the frozen earth to the heavens for a minute. We have to address Mohe's legendary yet highly debated connection to the aurora borealis. Because come on, you absolutely cannot talk about China's northernmost point without bringing up the northern lights. The actual science behind the myth is super fascinating. Mohe sits at 53 degrees north latitude, placing it in what scientists call a weak aurora zone. Basically, unlike being above the Arctic Circle, you aren't going to see the aurora here during regular solar activity. You need a rare, highly intense geomagnetic storm for the lights to be visible at all. In fact, since their local weather station was set up back in 1956, Mohe had historically only recorded about 39 days of aurora sightings. It was so incredibly rare that a lot of people started to wonder if the Mohe aurora was just a local myth made up for tourists. Well, 2023 completely threw that myth right out the window. Thanks to a peak in the solar cycle, the aurora actually made a rare appearance in May. Then, boom, it was spotted again in September. And finally, on the night of November 5th to the 6th, the sky just absolutely exploded. Spectacular red auroras and incredibly rare green auroras completely filled the night sky over Mohe. It gave everyone undeniable, breathtaking proof that the celestial magic of Mohe is 100% real and cemented its status as the only place in China where you can witness both red and green northern lights. So, that brings us right back to our big question for this explainer. If every journey has an end, what do you truly find when you finally reach the edge of the world? Well, in Mohe, you find a freezing, negative 53-degree climate that absolutely demands your respect. You find the raw, silent beauty of the taiga forest and a frozen river connecting two massive nations. You find a deeply resilient community of people who have overcome devastating tragedy. And if you are just incredibly lucky, you might just find the sky dancing in brilliant reds and greens. It's a profound, emotional frontier that really sticks with you long after the journey ends. Thanks for exploring Mohe with me, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.